Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Aal-Imraan, and we are on ayah number 46. قال الله تعالى: ويكلم الناس في المهد وكهلا ومن الصالحين. ويكلم, and he will speak from kalam, which is speech. الناس, he will speak to the people. في المهد, in the mahad, this is in the cradle. So this means to say, even as a baby who do not normally speak. So this will be, of course, a miracle. And he will speak to the people. Kahla, this means in his age of kuhula. This means middle age. It is between 30 and 40 years of age. As for when he is middle-aged, then he will be able to speak to the people about the Sharia and preach to them what is right and wrong, halal, haram, and so on. As for babies, then they cannot teach or preach these types of affairs. وَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and he will be from the salihin, from the righteous ones. The word kahl is mansub al-fatha because it is a hal of the verb yukallim, to speak. So he would speak in the state of being middle-aged. So reflecting on this ayah, we find the miraculous virtues of Isa ibn Maryam in that he will be able to speak from the cradle. And this will of course be a sign of his prophethood to come when he grows up. And indeed he will speak from the cradle to protect the honor of his mother, because the people at that time, as is quite evident in Surah Maryam, will accuse her of fornicating. Now there have been other people who have spoken from the cradle in a miraculous event, and the Prophet ﷺ told us about some of these types of people. You can find their narrations in the Sahih. So the point is that Isa ﷺ is not the only one to have spoken from the cradle. Ayah number 47. قالت رب أنى يكون لي ولد ولم يمسسني بشر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. She said, my Rabb, Anna, we have met this word before, it means how can this be? How can I have a walad, a child? وَلَمْ يَمْسَسْنِي بَشَرٌ, from massa yamussu means to touch, that no bashar, meaning no human, has touched me. Now a couple of points to note here. Number one, is Maryam doubting the ability of Allah Jalla wa Ala? The answer is no, because no true mu'min can doubt the ability of Allah. But rather, this is a shock to her, as it would be a shock to everyone, and so it is quite natural that you will ask questions for further clarification. And the second point is that this word massa, what does it mean? Linguistically, it means to touch, like you may touch something with your hand normally. Many mufassirun say that here it means sexual intercourse, because that's how a child is formed. And so based upon that, the word massa will be a kinaya, a metonym for the word sexual intercourse. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 236, Allah says, لا جناح عليكم إن طلقتم النساء ما لم تمسوهن. There is no problem on you if you divorce women and you have not tamassuhun, touched them. But it does not mean touch them as in just touch them with your hand. Rather it means sexual intercourse, because this is what changes the ruling. Merely touching your wife with your hand is irrelevant. It does not have any effect on anything. And this appears to be the mainstream opinion amongst the mufassirin. However, it is entirely reasonable to say that in this ayah, the word massa literally means touch, as in touch with the hand, and that there is no need to say that it means sexual intercourse. Now why would that be? Well, this would be because if no man has touched Maryam, meaning even with the hand or even with the finger, then sexual intercourse is far, far away. So in that case, the ayah would be more emphatic, meaning no man has even touched me, so how about sexual intercourse? It would be more emphatic than saying that no man has had sexual intercourse with me. So upon this interpretation, the word massa would be understood in its usual meaning, and Allah knows best. And we see the reply. He says, meaning Jibreel, كذلك, just like this, Allah يخلق ما يشاء, creates what He wills. Meaning Allah Jalla wa Ala can create things miraculously, just like He's going to create this child in your womb. We notice something here. He says يخلق ما يشاء, whereas with Zakaria, and when he was given the glad tidings of a child as well, which is also something of a miracle considering the age of Zakaria and his wife, he is told that Allah يفعل ما يشاء, He does as He wills. Because the birth of Yahya, the son of Zakaria, was not a miraculous birth. In the sense it was a biological birth, just as usual. Because there was a father and a mother involved, and that's a usual birth. Sure, the age was somewhat miraculous, but the biological process was not miraculous. Whereas, with Maryam, there was no father involved. He says, إِذَا قَضَى أَمْرًا, if he decrees an amr, a matter, فَإِنَّمَا, he only says to it, kun, be, فَيَكُون, and it will be. Note the word qada, meaning to decree. It is the same as qadr, to decree something. But the difference would be that if they are used together, then qada would be when the matter actually takes place, and qadr would be before the matter takes place. Otherwise, qada and qadr would mean to decree something or predestine something. It should also be noted that qada can be qada kawniya and qada shar'iyya, whereas that is not the case for qadr. Qadr is always kawni. Whatever Allah Jalla wa Ala decrees, it happens. Whereas with qada, it is used in the kawni sense and the shar'i sense, both in the Quran. The qada shar'i, for example, can be found in Surah Al-Isra, ayah 23, amongst other places. As for qada kawni, an example of this is again Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 4. Here we ask a question. When Allah says kun, be, and it is, then is it only ever the case that Allah says kun? Or could it be the case that Allah actually spells out what needs to be done, meaning in a bit more detail? Well, the answer is it could be both. Sometimes it may be kun, and other times it could be that Allah Jalla wa Ala actually details out what needs to be done. For example, when we look at the hadith of the pen writing down everything that's going to happen up till Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah Jalla wa Ala told the pen to write down everything that will happen till Yawm al-Qiyamah. So this is more than just uttering the word kun. So reflecting on this ayah, we find that Allah Jalla wa Ala can produce miracles, and Allah Jalla wa Ala can work above the laws of science. After all, Allah Jalla wa Ala is the one who created the laws of science. So for example, the biological process of the formation of the child, this is a creation of Allah. It did not just happen to happen this way. And so the programmer can change his programs and can override his programs. And we also find that whatever Allah Jalla wa Ala decrees absolutely must happen, and that this is part of His rububiyyah. Ayah 48, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابُ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَالتَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ. وَيُعَلِّمُ, ta'lim, He will teach them or educate them, al-kitab. So what does this mean? Well, it could be understood in two ways. Al-kitab meaning kataba, to write down. So He will teach them how to write. Here's one meaning, and another meaning is that kitab means the book, so He will teach them about the divinely revealed books. And two books are mentioned in particular, at-Tawrat wal-Injil, in this ayah, because they are more pertinent to Banu Israel. He, meaning Isa alayhi salam, will also teach them al-hikmah, which is to understand the teachings of the deen properly. Fahm, understanding, so that one may apply the teachings properly and may judge in accordance with the teachings properly. So reflecting on this ayah, we find that in this ayah there is evidence that Isa alayhi salam was a prophet and a messenger. Because look what he's doing. He's teaching the people the deen, the sharia, because this is what he is inspired to do. And that's exactly the hallmarks of a prophet and a messenger, is that he's inspired with the sharia and he is then ordered to teach it and preach it to the people. We also understand that having the proper understanding of your deen is hikmah, it is wisdom. We also find the virtue of these two books, At-Tawrah and Al-Injil, given to Musa and Isa alayhimussalatu respectively, as they are given a special mention. هذا والله أعلم.